everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the July full moon, or the buck moon, which falls on this Saturday the 4th or Sunday the 5th, depending on your time zone of where you live. And as I do with all of my full moon videos, just to recap what full moons in general tend to symbolise, and that is the receiving and the harvesting of all of the hard work that you've put in over the course of the lunar cycle from the new moon leading up to this point, the full moon. So it's all about harvest and basically basking in the fullness of what you have manifested. In contrast to this, to help you understand, the new moon is all about relinquishing and releasing all that no longer serves you so that you can start completely afresh. Whereas the full moon, before it starts to wane again, obviously, is all about enjoying the fullness of what you have created and really reflecting on that. The full moon is governed by the mother goddess archetype, whilst the waxing moon is governed by the maiden goddess archetype, and the waning moon is governed by the crone goddess archetype in traditional Wiccan beliefs of the triple goddess and each one's association to the moon. So as I said, this full moon will be at its fullest on early Sunday the 5th of July or late Saturday the 4th of July, depending on your time zone. However, the moon will basically appear pretty much full to the human eye on 3 days either side of those days that I mentioned. So you can perform magical workings at any point 3 days leading up to that full moon or 3 days after that full moon, give or take, and it will still be pretty much full, and so you don't have to worry about getting the timings exactly right, because I know some people tend to do that and stress out about, I need to do this thing on the exact time that the moon is at its fullest. And whilst it's good to know when the moon is at its absolute fullest, it's really not that necessary if you want to honour the full moon this month. So why is it called the buck moon? So it's called the buck moon because the bucks, or male deer, typically sprout their new antlers at this time of the season. So this is what the Native Americans of North America called this moon, to symbolise what was happening in the natural world around them at this time when the full moon would hit. So it's all about relating to the bucks, the male deer or the stags, who are getting their new antlers forming and blossoming into their adulthood, I suppose. And if we're talking about Wicca again, I suppose you could view that as being rather similar to the maiden goddess blossoming into full adulthood and the mother archetype, the mother goddess, at this time of year at the height of summer. So in a way you could view both the god and the goddess archetypes in Wicca as coming to their full fruition and blossoming to their full potential at this time. So it's a really beautiful time filled with abundance and life. Alternative names for this full moon are the thunder moon, due to the abundance of thunderstorms we can have at this point in the summer, or the hay moon, because now is a good time to obviously be harvesting the hay. It can also be called the wort moon, wort, W-O-R-T, being another name for herbs, and this is because July is also a really great time for gathering and drying herbs to be used as spices or remedies later. So as for this particular buck moon of July 2020, we're going to be having that coinciding with a, I think, partial penumbral lunar eclipse. So the lunar eclipse will be very, very slight. You won't see the moon that much darker, but it's still going to be slightly darker than normal technically. And anytime there's any sort of lunar eclipse, it's kind of similar to the new moon in its meanings, in that, you know, the darkness of it, the moon having a bit of a dark shadow of it, just like how the new moon is all shrouded in darkness. It's got those themes of darkness about going within and retreating, reflecting and relinquishing. So I suppose it's a bit of a contradiction with the energies of the full moon itself, having that darkness slightly intervening and telling us to step back a bit and reflect more, rather than just wholeheartedly embracing the harvest of the fullness of the full moon. This is also, again, quite contradictory to the fact that the full moon will be entering the sign of Capricorn, the sun of course still being in the sign of Cancer, which I talked about in my last video. But the full moon being in Capricorn brings about it the energies of hard work, discipline, convention, traditional values, really dedication and putting your nose to the grindstone. So it's a bit at odds with all the other influences that are going on right now that feel a lot more laid back. With the sun in Cancer, it's quite reflective and watery. Some solstice again, relating to the honouring of water. The thunderstorms also creating a lot of water for us, and water is a very reflective time and a time to be still in your emotions, I suppose. So that can be a little bit surprising to have in conjunction with the full moon in Capricorn. So really we're going to have to be able to find a balance between these two influences of work and play, or work and relaxation. So yes, being able to strive towards our goals and push even further forward, but also being able to relax and rejuvenate with the full moon, and also just take a moment for our self-care to reflect on ourselves. Actually, we have come quite far, and yes, we're very motivated to push forward and work harder at this time, even more so than what we've already doing, but we still deserve that time to go inwards and reflect when we get the time, and just be thankful for all that we've already achieved. So, points of reflection for this full moon specifically. As I mentioned earlier, the Mother Goddess archetype in Wicca, she is coming to her full fruition at the height of summer, the fullness, the abundance of nature that we're seeing all around us at this moment, being very nurturing and sustainable for life of all kinds. But also, of course, due to the name of the buck moon, I think this could also be a really great time to focus on also the energy of the horned god archetype in Wicca, obviously because of his close ties to the deer, the goat, the ram, all of these kind of horned animals that are coming into their element at this time. Perhaps reflect on how through the Mother Goddess's nurturing spirit and abundance right now, the young male god, that is how he receives his power to be able to grow and be strong in his masculine power, growing in strength and prowess throughout the year thanks to the generosity and nurturing nature of the summer Mother Goddess, as indeed the young male bucks or deer at this time of year are doing. Not only is this full moon obviously called the buck moon, but as the moon itself this year occurs in the sign of Capricorn, Capricorn being represented by, of course, the goat with a fish tail. That for me is really interesting because, of course, as I said, the goat is one of the animals that is very heavily associated with the horned god archetype in Wicca, but the fish tail as well, I think, really happens to speak to the contradictions within the time period that we're in, and all of the watery energies that can be around at this time thanks to Letha, the summer solstice that we've just had pass, and the zodiac sign of Cancer that the sun is still in. So I do think this is quite weird how nicely this sort of all fits together, and could definitely be a good point of reflection for this full moon, thinking about the feminine energies of the water that we're getting at the moment. Of course, another name for the full moon in July is the thunder moon, thanks to the thunderstorms and the rainstorms. Thinking about those feminine energies of the water all around us and the emotions, but also the masculine energies of the stags growing in strength and power, or bucks, and how those masculine energies work in conjunction with it. Maybe ask yourself how you can utilize those energies of masculine and feminine in your life, and especially how we can achieve that work and relaxation balance, as I said earlier. So what would integrating these two sides of life look like in ourselves, and if we integrated that into our own life? I think these two forces could really have the power to create something very beautiful in our lives. So obviously, with this moon being called the thunder moon or the buck moon, we can perhaps learn to embody the qualities of the water that falls from the heavens and the stag or buck who grows from the nourishment of the earth. So it's heaven and earth, again, two other polarities that are coming together. So if any of you guys are into witchcraft, I'm assuming you are a little bit if you're on my channel watching, but if any of you are into witchcraft, some really good practices that you could do for this full moon specifically are potentially to gather rainwater if you have any rainstorms that occur, to use in future magical workings and to preserve the energy in the atmosphere around this time. You can use that rainwater in room sprays, potions, bath, tea, anything you like. And I've said before that I believe that rain is Mother Nature's way of kind of saging the earth and cleansing the earth. So I really feel that if using sage to cleanse your home or space or yourself isn't an option for you, just by gathering this rainwater can really be beneficial to do that instead of sage. I've personally used it myself in cleansing myself, my body and my sacred spaces, and it's worked really, really well and been really powerful and helpful for me. So I would definitely recommend that as a practice, especially if you're living somewhere where creating smoke and cleansing your space that way isn't an option. Around this full moon time would also be great for any kind of green witchery that you want to do. As I said, an alternative for this full moon is the wart moon, meaning herb moon, and so that would make it great for us to use this time to gather any herbs, dry them out for use in future spells and rituals and remedies and things like that, just to get in touch with your inner green witch if you have not already done so. The earth is so abundantly providing us with everything we need right now that I think now is really a beautiful time to become aware of the plants growing around you and get in touch with the earth element as well. So that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Big shout out to all my new subscribers as well. Your support really means a lot to me. I hope you all will have a beautiful full moon time, and blessed be.